call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
What up? Welcome back once again to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones. And in this one, let's go ahead and add one more figure to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now, today we will take a look at the collector's edition Wonder Woman. Now, this is a very anticipated figure that everyone has been waiting for. I did receive mine the day after Christmas, and of course, I did get two, one to open and review, and one to keep in box from my mint inbox collection. But I kind of feel like I will be getting another one of these, and I may also be looking to get the Platinum Edition, which is a more superpowers colored version of this figure. Now, I knew eventually that this day would come. A lot of people, have been really waiting for this figure. I knew eventually she would come, so, it wasn't no big deal for me, but I am kind of happy that she came later on in the line because that means we get her with a little bit better design and articulation than I think she would have gotten if she were to be released, at the very start of the McFarlane run. So although we did wait a while, is she going to be worth the wait? Let's go ahead and check it out. Now, she does look very Themyscirian in the packaging, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at her. But first, she does come with your classic black DC Multiverse stand. Now, of course, the only main difference is this one has a silver DC logo, but it is your standard DC Multiverse stand. She also comes with her data file card. On the front, you have a very nice image from the comics of Wonder Woman looking very nice. Love that artwork. And on the back, you do have some information. Now, of course, Wonder Woman, don't need to say much about her. She's awesome. Now, surprisingly, we have received a lot of figures of Wonder Woman. I would have to guess at least around 10 or 12, something like that. So this is a long-awaited figure after a lot of releases of alternate Wonder Woman. But one thing I do have to say for her is she does come with a ton of accessories. Now, she does come with alternate hands. Of course, per usual, I like to review them with double fists. So right now she has two fists. But she also comes with these two splayed or gesturing hands, which are really awesome when you get her into poses for her to emote emotion. These really work well. These are some of the best hands that McFarlane has made for his figures, and it is really awesome that she came with these. You also get two gripping hands or trigger hands. Now, these are gripping hands. You can use them to hold her weapons. And if you would like, there is a trick that I know so that you could make these into just gripping hands without the added feature of the trigger finger sticking out. But for right now, I will just leave them like this. Now, she does come with her lasso of truth. Now, I have to be honest, this one looks really nice rolled up like this, and it even looks really nice on her loop that's attached to her belt, but it's not really good for extending or wrapping around other figures, but I will do something for that later on in the video. She does come with her sword. Now, we have seen this sword before. Basically, like all her weapons have come with the Endless Winter Wonder Woman because there was two different versions. But this is the same sword, just that this one has a brighter gold to it. But it fits her well. She also has her shield, which also came with one of the Endless Winter Wonder Womans. But that one was just one solid color, and this one does have the silver with the gold accent. but also an awesome weapon for her. And of course, the battle axe. Now, this one also came with a previous Wonder Woman figure, but this one does have some nice gold paint. And the awesome thing about this is that now we can actually mix and match with other weapons. Like we do have this shield from the McFarlane version of Wonder Woman, and this one actually looks good as well with her. So it's pretty nice to be able to swap weapons with all the different versions of Wonder Woman that we have received. Now that is basically it for accessories, except you do get the card stand, which, like everybody knows I do not really enjoy these. McFarlane has the vision that people want to display their figure and then put this next to it and slide the card in there, but these are starting to add up. I may just end up selling all of these, on eBay or something. But yeah, I don't need any more of those. But maybe in the future we may, find a use for them. But let's go ahead and take a closer, detailed look at the figure. Now, first impressions, they did a really great job of capturing that, comic book style classic Wonder Woman. Now, I do see some familiar body parts, and her build is really reminiscent of the Superwoman that we got in the Starro Wave from the Crime Syndicate. But it is not a negative because that was a really voluptuous, well designed female figure. So for this Wonder Woman to kind of be based off of that is definitely a positive. But she does look really good. We heard people having complaints about her without even really looking at her or having her in hand. And that just started like a snowball effect of people nitpicking this figure. But to me, she looks really good in her classic look. The head looks beautiful. The hair is nice and flowing. I'm really enjoying that. And of course, you get the bright gold with the sort of candy apple red on her suit. And of course, the traditional stars on her trunks. So for me, she looks very much like a classic Wonder Woman. Let's take a closer look at the head sculpt. Now, we never really know what we're going to think until we actually get the figure in hand. And actually, she looks really nice. Now, her head for me is scrunched down a little bit. So I will be lifting up her head by extending the peg or finding a longer peg. We'll look at that later on in the video. And it is actually like a minimal thing. If you were to, not know any better, it would look fine. But just for me, the way I like my figures, I want to, lift up that head a little, a couple of millimeters, and then I'll be pretty happy with it. Now, of course, the hair is obviously going to restrict her head articulation. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Now, she can look down very well, for what it is. But of course, looking up is going to be really hindered because of her hair. You do got some good movement, but it's kind of tight because, as I said, her head is sitting a little bit low. You got right to left. You can tilt her head, but her hair kind of pushes it back. But I'm pretty sure when I lift the peg, I will actually be able to tilt her head without her hair pushing back on it. But we'll take a closer look at that later on. But all in all, beautiful head sculpt. Love the hair, as I said. Love the streaks of blue that they added to it. Really gives it some full body and life. Her tiara looks immaculate. So really loving the head sculpt. No complaints there. And her eyes are done beautifully with a nice hint of, mascara to give her that smoky eye look. So love the head sculpt. That is awesome. Moving down, you do have her classic costume. Love the eagle design on her chest. It looks really good. And actually, it looks really full, I'll say that. So that's really eye catching and looks good. Now, that'll let us go down and look at her waist. Now, she does have side to side at the waist. She has tilt-a-whirl at the waist where you can move her around. She has a lower waist swivel, no upper chest swivel. They made it a solid piece, very reminiscent of a lot of the Wonder Womans that they did make. And you could twist her to get her in cool poses, but you're missing that midsection. I really wish they would have made a cut here. Even like the Batgirl figures, they all have a cut there to give added articulation. Now we just got the same sort of thing with the Flashpoint Wonder Woman. And although you can still, you could lean her forward, a tiny bit, you're just missing that added bonus of the other cut. So yeah, I wish they would have done that. Do I hate the figure because of that? Of course not. She looks really good. And, I'll live with it. Now, of course, she can't lean that forward, but she can lean back for some jumping action poses. Let's take a look at the shoulders. Now, these are so so articulated. They're almost like too articulated. The bushing and ring joint inside the shoulder moves around a lot. Now, while this adds a lot of movement and range, it's kind of right on the verge of being a little bit loose, but it's fine. Now you do have that weird bicep swivel that was actually on the Superwoman as well, where you could barely get any movement, and if you like force it, you could get it and loosen it up, but you're not gonna get a lot of rotation out of that. But it does work for what it is. You also have up and down at the shoulder and front to back. Now you do have double jointed elbows. Those look okay. They don't look too choppy. Straighten out her shoulder. Beautiful design of the shoulder going down into the elbow and then into those silver gauntlets. Very classic Wonder Woman. Now you do get a small enough ball joint that it doesn't look, off-putting or bad to the eye, and you still get that wrist articulation. 4 ways of movement. Now on the other side, you have the same thing going down into the gauntlet and into another fist. And as I said before, McFarlane is getting really good at being able to swap out the hands. So you can pop off one hand and easily pop on another hand. That is always appreciated. Get her in a T-pose really easily. Move her arms above the head. Awesome. That'll allow us to move down to the thighs. Let's take a look at these very nicely sculpted legs. You remind me a lot of Superwoman. Let's check out the thigh swivel. She actually has some good thigh swivel. Now, of course, if you heat up these figures, you could loosen them up a lot more and get more movement. That way you can move the boot without having a thigh cut, and you could still get articulation out of the hip. She could kick up really high, kick back as well. Now, do not be afraid. Her trunks are made of rubber, and that is so you could get a lot of range. And when you put them back, they actually go back to their original shape. Wow, that's a nice view. Now, you can cock out her knee, and she has that McFarlane hip swivel. Double jointed knees. Now, these do look a little bit choppy. I mean, I wish McFarlane would clean this up a little bit. They look really nice when they are straightened out, but as soon as you start bending them, especially at the top of the thigh, not so much at the lower knee, but at the top of the thigh, it looks a little bit chopped up. But you do have up and down at the ankle, right to left, rocker, and toe articulation. Now, before we go, let's take a complete look at the lower body. Beautiful legs, beautifully sculpted. They look very proportionate, actually, to her body, which isn't always, the thing with McFarlane, but these look really good. They fit really good. They did add some nice red boots with the white accent. Now, the big major thing, the gripe that I have, is that they did not add the white stripe at the peg, so that you could get that full continuation of the white stripe through the ankle joint and down into the foot. It just cuts it up really bad. You could see it right away that you got the white and then red and then white again. So I will be painting that so you guys could see how it looks when it's fully painted. But other than that, the boots are fine. They're not my favorite. They do have a sort of sculpted design around the bottom of the sole. I don't know if those are traditional Themyscirian shoes, but yeah, they're fine. Let's take a look at her from the bottom. She has that weird tread and also some identifying marks. Now, moving up the back, not too much in sculpt work because, of course, this is just bare skin legs. But then we do get to that beautiful, uh, goddess derriere. Beautiful, just awesome. Could actually stare at this for hours. So, yeah, looks good. Moving up the back. Love the musculature of the back, even though it is hidden by the beautiful hair. But all in all, she is a very nice Wonder Woman figure. Tons of articulation, tons of possibilities for figure photography and posing. So, yeah, I'm really happy with her. Awesome. I mean, what more do you want? She comes with tons of weapons. You can add her sword to her hand and get her in some cool poses. Of course, I like the way her lasso looks just like this on her little belt loop. Looks pretty clean. You can easily add her shield to her and get her in some, battle ready poses, which is awesome. So she's just a complete figure. I mean, there's very minimal negative things to say. And I do think McFarlane did basically come through with this figure. Now, there is, the little changes that I wanted to make, which was not much, but it is things that were important to me. So first I did raise her head. Now by raising her head, you get a lot of smoother movement because even her hair is lifted up. It's not so cumbersome on her shoulders. So you get a lot more range. She looks down even more. Now, if you were to adjust, maybe remove some of the thickness of the plastic of the hair, you could get her to look up. But she's fine like this. There's not a problem. As I said, you can now tilt her head and the hair doesn't push her head back up. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I like the way she looks with that little raised, portion of the peg. Just looks a lot better. Another thing I wanted to do actually was make her a custom lasso. Now I did get some wire like at Hobby Lobby and it was like two-tone. So I went ahead and painted it with just a gold tone. And what's cool about this is that you can actually bend it and get it to any shape you want. You can move the loop and adjust it to the size of the figure that you want to grab onto. So this is really nice just for an added little feature of a weapon. So I thought that was cool. And then of course the last thing I wanted to do was actually paint the stripes on the ball joints of the ankle so that you could get that continuous white paint from top to bottom. Now I did do this, you could see it here, and I did retain articulation where you could keep moving the ankles and the paint does not come off. And I got a pretty nice clean paint line and thickness to both sides even. So this is how it looks the way McFarlane should have done it. And that that is one of my specialties, to actually do what McFarlane should do. I had practice doing this when I did my classic Hawkman, but it does actually do a lot for the figure to make it look complete when you paint those pins. So all in all, I am happy with her. She's awesome. Now, before we go, let's compare it to some figures. I do want to bring out the Endless Winter Wonder Woman because a lot of her weapons are just ported out from her releases. And she is one of my favorite underappreciated Wonder Woman figures. Beautiful head sculpt, very intricate sculpted out design of the body, of the costume. Looks really nice. Awesome. I also want to take a look at her next to Superwoman, which is where basically she is based off of. Both some pretty nice, thick females, look awesome. And I could see these guys going at it, in a battle. Still love this Superwoman figure. She's just so cute. Every once in a while, I will pick her up and admire her for a little bit. But yeah, that's another awesome female figure done by McFarlane. And of course, I do have to bring out the classic Trinity, and I am going to be matching her up with my Black Hush custom Batman. And the best thing about this is you could see that Batman is still taller than her. And although I did lift up her neck peg to, give her even a little bit more height, Batman is still taller than her. So this is a really good setup. And of course, to finish off the Trinity, I have my definitive Superman, which I also customized and made. And he is also taller than this Wonder Woman. Him and Batman are basically the same size. And this is actually the Trinity that I will be going with. So I was not worried when they said that Wonder Woman was a little bit tall, because I knew that basically I already had this set up in my mind. And these are the figures that I wanted to match up with her. So all in all, I am really happy with this release. She's very fun to pose and move around. I'll let you know that right off the bat. You could get her in tons of cool poses. She's really fun with her alternate hands and weapons. And here is the biggest thing out of this release of Wonder Woman, is that we will probably be getting more Wonder Woman using these parts. And of course, McFarlane doesn't like to waste any sculpt. They're definitely probably going to get a rebirth Wonder Woman, and tons of other versions of Wonder Woman. So that is awesome to look forward to. But you guys keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.
They used to call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.